Hello, my fellow collagers. This week, a little something different. I already started on this collage, so you're viewing it as a true work in progress. You'll probably recognize the subject, but I'll let you figure out the rest as we go along. So join me.
What I have here is a collage I've been working off camera. Think you may be able to figure out who this is. The technique I'm using is pretty simple. I am taking a photocopy of the image and cutting as I go. I love to begin with the eyes first, especially for people who are highly recognizable. The eyes are what it's all about. And almost like a puzzle piece, I just go ahead and start cutting out portions of it. As you can see, a lot has gotten done on this piece. The eyes and the mouth to me were very important, and the eyebrows. The eyebrows, too, will give away exactly who you're doing. So I'm just using the basic magazine ephemera and other types of papers that I have. Using a lot of yellow, obviously, with this image. Yellow and some black. Not sure if I'm going to keep it up though. But for whatever reason, when I think of David Bowie, oh, there we go. I just gave away who I was working on. When I think of David Bowie, I think of Bowie in the early 80s, the blonde pompadour, the yellow pantsuit he was wearing in the Modern Love video, because that was the Bowie I was introduced to. That's when I became a fan and then discovered all of the wonderful music he did prior to that and continued to do up until he passed. So I'm going to get back to work here and pay homage to the Thin White Duke and see what I come up with. See how much fun I'm going to have this afternoon. Now, the only problem I have had with these collages and its process, they are highly detailed and they call for quite a few X-Acto blades. And my fingers are getting seriously blistered, but it's worth it because I really love doing it. So we're going to go ahead and break a couple more blades this afternoon. Maybe not. I'll just keep working at it and see what happens. I wanted to share with you for a moment that I try to trace out where I'm going to cut and where I want my ephemera to go. And that works really well for me. The problem is also that I have to cut through other ephemera that I've already placed down. So my cuts sometimes don't come out the way I want them to, and sometimes I have to change plans really quick and go to a plan B. There's a portion here that I definitely wanted to put something of a darker shade to show shadow. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to accomplish that. And I try to hang on to my template and my pieces as much as I can until I'm completely finished and I'm pleased with the result. So here on the back, I had to cut through tape because I like using packing tape for these collages. It just is nicer and cleaner to me than using a wet adhesive. Wet adhesive works well too, but I really like using packing tape. So I'm going to hang on to this template. I'm going to go ahead and remove, nothing too crazy. I just remove some of the ephemera that's attached to it. It's not needed anymore. In case I need to come back for a reference point, I have this template. So I'm going to hang on to that for just a minute more. I know I wanted this sliver taken out. And when I mean sliver, I mean sliver. Some of these, this material also, especially for the eyes here, this material was beautiful. I love the design, but it came from a very old magazine well over 50 years old. So while the design and the color and the patterns are awesome, it becomes a problem when I do my cutting. It's fragile paper, so it will cut, but it won't cut the way I want it to. It cuts crumbly and messy and makes me frustrated. So the process is a little slow. That's why I like to do things with time lapse, so you guys don't have to go slow along with me. So, okay, this was fairly successful. See how it looks? Okay, so I'm ready to go. Again, I can decide what I'm going to put here. I can always reference that template because I didn't throw it out. And if I want to put maybe a darker piece here to establish shadow for the lips, I can do that. As long as I hang on to that template, or I just go with it and come up with something else completely off script, and that's okay too. So I'd like to share why I break so many blades and I get so many blisters working on these pieces. So the ephemera is stacking up. You can't see it here and you can't really see it on the back a little bit. Here's the packing tape. I'm going to have to cut through that too. But underneath this next portion that I'm going to cut with my X-Acto blade, we have a lot of layers that I'm going to have to cut through. You can actually see these layers. I don't want to make anything too fuzzy for everybody. But I want to cut through all of that. That's about 3 or 4 layers of ephemera. And it's delicate. It's part of that delicate, those delicate pieces I was telling you about. So I really have to go slow and I really have to press hard through the paper, through the template, and also through the tape that is adhering everything together. And things get loose and things rip, and sometimes I have to again change my plan midstream. And that's why collage is so much fun. And this is why I have blisters on my fingers, and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to get back to work here and cut this and see what I'm going to put in place of these really nice cheekbones. So really quick, this is what I was talking about with that delicate paper. This is what it does. It kind of scrunches up on me and ruins everything. So again, you just have to make adjustments. You may have to go in and cut to have a cleaner line or leave it alone. Maybe it's the effect you want. Not me. I'm probably going to play with this just a little bit longer before I actually put some ephemera for this cheek and figure out what I'm going to do next. And this is going to be a case for some Mod Podge. I don't use a lot of wet adhesive on these pieces because, again, the detail, I prefer using the packing tape. But I do dab on glue at different points just to make sure everyone stays in place. Just a quick side note because I mentioned that delicate paper. So got these out of a German magazine for architecture. And again, this paper is over 50 years old, really fragile. See, it's kind of foxing on the back. But where do you see patterns like this, colors like this? I loved it. So I'm going to hang on to these little swatches. I don't know if they're going to make their way back into this image. But this is what I was working with. That's why when I was cutting it with the X-Acto knife, and even though I was going slow and careful, there's a lot of other ephemera underneath it, piled underneath. So I ended up kind of crunching it up. Not sure again if I'm going to use these, but I'm going to put them off to the side. I just wanted to show you what they looked like. Want to see how scary it looks without the template on? It just kind of freaks me out. I'm like, ah, it's a crazy, scary moon, Bowie. That's not what I want to accomplish. That's much better. But we're not done yet. Let's keep going. As you can see, lots of detail work that was for naught. This cigarette lighter, I had done it so carefully. I had the template cut out, and I'm going to have to go to another plan B because there's a lot of detail here. I was cutting around it. I thought that was the best way to go at the time. It may not work, but I am going to put something here because he is obviously holding a lighter and we want him to have a lighter. So this hair, there's a lot of detail and it's going to look great once I get everything done, but I also need to include this lighter, so I'm going to try to figure something out off camera and then get back to work. Very temporary solution. I'm just using this drafting tape. It's not permanent because I'm going to have to move it just like I have it here. Trying to figure out where I want to put the silver part of the cigarette lighter. I'm going to need to adhere this with some wood adhesive. And I think that might work. So this is plan B in progress. So I'm going to stop here because this has gotten way more complicated than I actually anticipated, but it's coming along pretty well. I like the way it's looking. I have to do a lot more cleanup and a lot more cutting and get some more X-Acto blades because I broke this last one and that's fine. I'm also running out of the ephemera that I am using for the hair. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with this side because I do want this ephemera also on this side, at least in little bits and parts, so it's balanced and I may not have enough left over. So that's also part of the fun of collage. You have to always constantly have a plan B, switch gears, all that good stuff. So I am having fun. It's just been a bit more detailed and tedious than I thought, and that's fine because I am up for the challenge. So this is the end of part one of this work in progress. And I'm going to go to sleep now. And I hope you guys have a really good Sunday. See you next week.